What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we are going to be out in a little bit of rain, but we're stripping the front clip off the Ford F-150. So I've been a little bit absent. I had a lot of stuff going on with both work and family, and I just wanted to take a little bit of break from filming. Now, you guys might be saying to yourself, Jordan, this is a video that's posted on Saturday. You only post on Mondays and Thursday. And then there's also a group of you that's saying, hey, I don't even know who you are. I'm happening to poop right now. It's a Wednesday, and you just happen to pop up while I was taking a dump. Well, you know what? Welcome to the channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the bell notifications, because you know what? We're going to be here every time you poop. Everybody poops. Let's poop together. In today's episode, like I said in the beginning, we're going to be stripping off the front clip of the Ford F-150. Now, this is a 1992 F-150. I do know this is going to work for everything 92 to 97. It probably will work for most F-250s and F-350s. So let's go ahead and jump out in the driveway and get started. As we start looking around the engine bay, we can see there's a lot of stuff mounted to these fenders. The hood is directly mounted to the fender. We have a lot of stuff here in terms of our fuses and our junction boxes, a lot of ground wires. The whole core support here is tied into the fenders itself. Same goes over on the other side with some of the stuff for the brake booster and throttle control. So there's a lot that's just attached straight in through here that we're gonna have to disconnect just to take off a fender on this thing. So we're gonna start getting into some of that deconstruction as well. I think we'd start with the grille and the lights. There's a bunch of Phillips head screws all along through the top here. I'll start removing all of these and see where that gets us. It looks like part of that holds in the actual headlight itself, as well as the upper part of the grille. Removing the screws along the top of the grille get most of it loose, but then you can notice there is another Phillips head screw right here below the Ford emblem where it mounts up to the metal here in between. With that screw removed, the whole grille comes out. Looking at the fenders, we got 4 bolts right here for this bracket and some there, but I would assume once we take this bracket off, we're gonna be good. We got 2 more up there, and then this stuff here along the side that we need to remove. And I would assume there's gotta be, yep, there's a bolt right down there as well, possibly some up in the door. So we're gonna start seeing if we can get this fender off, because some of these bolts here to get this stuff off are behind it. As of right now, we got the battery box removed. I removed some of this wiring, the horn. We've got some bolts out of there. In the wheel well, there was a bunch of small little, I think they were 7/16 or 7/32 screws in here. I don't know if they're supposed to go in here, because if you look, there's just a standard screw. Now, my grandpa was known to just kind of fix things quickly with whatever he had, so I do not know if any of that stuff belonged in there. So we went ahead and removed those. Also, some of the bolts that were holding this side step in place. Right here we can see the bolts for the front bumper. This front bumper is pretty rusted, pretty corroded up and through here. I soaked these in PB Blaster yesterday. Hopefully I'll be able to get these off. Perhaps someone can also tell me, is this the way this is supposed to look? Looks a little crumpled. This bumper is held on with, at least for this truck, 2 on each side 21 millimeter bolts. This one here's got some aftermarket KC lights on it, so that is wired up in through here. So I have to be a little careful about that and disconnect these as I take it off. But the bumper itself should be free to take off the truck, so I'll do that. Gonna make sure that I don't hit the Mercedes, otherwise I'll be sleeping in the garage. With the bumper off, we can see the extent of the rust here as it's going all the way through, and it's just holding the majority of the rust. So most of this is gonna end up in my yard right now. This plastic cover here came off with it. Now we're working on getting this trim piece along the bottom of the headlights that goes underneath the grille off. This here is attached via 2 bolts. One is right here in the corner underneath the lights that holds it in place, and then you'll have one on the other side that's exactly the same. To get to the bolt down here, we got to move out some of this stuff. So we're going to start by removing the windshield washer fluid. And also this houses the coolant as well. Looks like we have 1 bolt right here. I'm using a 7/16 on this truck to get it off. There may be a few others. I know we got some brackets in here that we can remove as well, which we'll probably do anyway, but mainly this nut right here to get the whole thing off. Looks like this hose has a few leaks in it. Jesus. I may need to be careful because I just found out we have an active wasp nest in this truck. Fantastic. To get the light off itself, we have the 2 screws here that we removed. And then down in here, hopefully you can see it, there is, I believe it's right there. And then also right here, we got what I'm told is 11mm nut, but who knows? It kind of seems to be whatever it wants to be on this truck. With the 2 bolts off the back and the screws off the top, this here just pops out, and then you're gonna have to disconnect your light. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this and take it off, since we don't really have to worry about retaining anything. Yeah, probably didn't want to drop that either. After having removed some of the wasp nests, I was able to get down here into my final bolts that sit down here off to the side. And this here should now pop off. Oh, ooh, there's a, God dang it, there's another one right there. They're like everywhere on this truck. But now that I've pulled that out, we can get to our remaining bolts here that hold this in place. Now what we did right here is what you'd have to do if you needed to do any work to your turn signals or your headlights. This is how you need to remove those. Now for me, I went ahead and I removed the battery and battery tray. One, because I'm gonna do it anyway, that needs to come out, but it made it easier access to get down to there, to those bolts. Same thing over here with your windshield washer fluid and radiator coolant. It was 1 bolt right here that I was able to remove. This little thing here slides into that slot, and this comes right out. As you can see, everything is still leaking, but that made easier access for that. Now we'll be able to take that out, and this whole grill section here, which we'll be able to reuse later for some wall art. Now that we have that off, we can see our 2 remaining bolts here. These both appear to be 8s. That will help us start taking this whole piece off here. We are gonna keep the headlight in here because we want to reuse this whole piece for our decoration piece that we're gonna build later on. Now with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and we'll finish taking off this trim piece and kind of start moving inward towards this core support. And in case I didn't let you know already, there are 2 on this truck, 2 8mm bolts that hold this in place in each corner. Over here we have a few bolts that hold in this bracket here, which you can see a little bit better on the back side. And once that frees up a little bit, that links into our fender. So as you can see, our fender is now starting to pull away. On the opposite side, we've also removed our 4 10mm bolts that we had up top that were holding this in place, also holding it onto the fender. Underneath our core support, we have a couple of 8mm bolts that are holding it in place. These ones here probably are gonna break because of the rust that we have here, but it's also connected here, as you can see, to the frame itself through this, what used to be a bushing. I got a 15mm socket here on our bolt that goes to what, again, used to be some type of bushing that holds this on. As you can see, I've already given it a couple blips, and it's just nothing but a rust shower. As you saw there, this thing is very rusted. I was able to rip this thing off by hand, hit it a couple times with the hammer over in this area, and then this thing just completely shredded. Over here on this side, it actually ripped out of the mount itself. That's how rusted it was on this side. So all we have holding this side, the passenger side of the fender in place, is up inside the door sill. And then over here, we're gonna start detaching some of this stuff, airbox holders, and then some of our brake stuff over here, so we can start getting off the driver's side fender as well. Then the front will be deconstructed for now. So you should be able to see this bolt right here that is up inside the fender behind the door. That is the last bolt that we have to take off. It looks like it's probably an 8, but one thing that we have to worry about is we got right there an active hornet's nest. With that one bolt out, we now have our fender off. The hornets seem to be doing pretty good. They didn't come and attack me. They're still under a little bit of coverage, but this thing is completely off. You can see these things are actually fairly thick. A little bit of weight to them, a lot different than what we have over there on the RTR Mustang when we worked on it. We now have both fenders off the truck. As you can see, this one, which was the driver's side and our only good fender, is no longer a good fender. The reason for that is down at the bottom, the 13 millimeter bolt that holds everything in place. The back side of it is kind of a clamp nut. I'm sure you guys have seen these. They're a little U-shaped. Well, the back of that had rusted off and all it was doing was spinning. It didn't matter how many vice grips I put on it, C-clamps, nothing was stopping that thing from spinning. I also tried to look up underneath there to see if we could get maybe some type of cutting tool in there. Nothing I had was small enough to get in there to work. So unfortunately, we had to take a sledgehammer to it and knock it out of there. And I wish I could say we finished up just in time, but I was actually laying in this rain for a little bit. Xander was in the window watching me the whole time. But we did end up getting our fenders, our front bumper, our grill. Some of that, like I said, we're gonna be reusing. Not all of it, but some of it. So now that that is done, we're gonna leave the hood on for now, because with it raining here from time to time like it does, we're not always gonna be able to keep this canopy here, and we wanna make sure that the engine is taken care of. Next episode, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna move it onto the interior, start stripping that out so we can get ready to pull the whole cab off. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the bell notifications, because you're not going to want to miss any of the stuff that we're doing coming up with the F-150. So until next episode, peace.